gentlemen on. I think they have an amazing product, but they're also really nice guys. I love to have nice guys finish first, especially on my show. So I want to welcome John Huber and Jerry Thomas with SinkBlink20. Welcome, gentlemen. How are you?
I'm doing great, Ted. Thank you very much. Thanks for having us here.
I'm very, oops, hold on. I got to add him back in. Hold on just a second. There you are. You're all over the place, John. There's four of you now, or
perfect.
Two of you. There you go.
You can't even handle one, so we're doing great.
All right, so I want to take a deep dive into SinkBlink20, which I think is an amazing product, and it certainly is coming to its own with everything going on with COVID-19. But before we do that, can you tell us a little bit about each of you? I met Jerry through our crazy little real estate world that we all live in, and of course, he brought John to the table. So welcome, and we'll start with you, John. Tell us a little bit about you. You have all sorts of great patents and things in your background, and we want to hear about it. So
sure. So I've been pretty lucky to be an engineer and work for a lot of innovative companies in my past, a lot of startups. And so I've worked in, medical products, consumer product goods, virtual reality, which is actually where I met Jerry. And so I've had a pretty diverse career of just kind of being a maker and being I've heard the fix-it guy. I'll just kind of make the things that people need to get off the ground.
I love that, but you're minimizing your talents, because I looked through your bio, which I normally don't do, by the way. But I was fascinated. I read a few words, but I think that you have that great engineering background and thought process, but also personable. Which is kind of nice. Nothing against my engineering friends. It's just, sometimes engineers tend to be engineers. All right, Jerry, how about you? Tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, Ted, that's a great segue. I actually have been in mostly corporate healthcare for the last 25 to 30 years and had exited that world about 4 years ago, and then had an opportunity to work with John in the virtual reality world of all things. And, I told John 3 years ago we had an opportunity to work together. He has a unique skill set. He has a phenomenal mind, but he also has the ability to communicate effectively with somebody who's not an engineer. And he has a unique way of communicating sales methodologies in a way that I can understand it, which is great for me. I am a local realtor here in the Central Florida market, but when John called me a few months ago and said, I think I have something, the first thing that came to my mind is, this is awesome, because it's going to save lives. It was different. I wasn't looking at that from a sales perspective. I immediately gravitated to, because of my own personal story, I'm one of the high-risk patients. And so when I saw this, I knew immediately it was going to protect me and my family. And so that is my story, how John and I reconnected, and I feel very blessed to have the opportunity to work with him again.
I love that you say as a creative mind. That's the thing I'm missing most. So I love anybody who can do left and right brain, which you apparently can, John and Jerry too. I mean, I think it takes a little bit to develop a product like this, especially with everything that's going on, and make sure the technology is actually there. That's a big to do. So why did you focus on this? What was the impetus behind this, John?
Sure. So, mid-March, I really became acutely aware of COVID, right? It was happening in Europe. And so you kind of mentioned my talents. I have a PhD in biomedical engineering. And so I've designed, medical devices in my past. And so I've done some and so I started hearing about these things, like, how can you solve something? How can you kind of be a part of a solution? And one of the things that was just, even in March, was just kind of getting grinding in was hand washing. And it wasn't some special soap or some special technique. It wasn't anything, new science. It was just, do this for 20 seconds, please, and get all the crevices. And so you just sit there and you're racking your brain on, okay, why aren't we doing it? You just kind of had nothing else to do, right? I wasn't going out when all this started going on. You start thinking about these problems. And I asked my daughter, I said, hey, how would you do this? And we just start kind of batting the ball back and forth and asking questions, and that's a good idea, not. And she kind of settled on this notion of this blinky toothbrush light. Like, hey, these toothbrushes have this light that blinks, so I know I'm brushing my teeth for 2 minutes. And you sit there and you think about it, and you go, okay, yeah, we can make that. Let's give that a try. And so late March, it was a napkin. We drew on the napkin what we were, and just kind of put full accelerator down and went go on trying to make this thing.
I love that, because I think that that's part of the creativity and the creative process that I feel like a lot of people have been utilizing during COVID. They've had to shift and pivot and our society and the world. And I love this, because this is 101 when it comes to everything COVID. Wash your hands, mask, wash your hands. I mean, it is. But I think that a lot of people we've either been spoiled because we click on the quick little Purell. I'll use that. Sorry, Purell, if I'm not supposed to use your name. You have the hand sanitizer and you rub it and you're done. And then you don't think twice about it. But that's not accessible to a lot of kids or a lot of people. A sink is accessible to all people. So when you're doing this with your daughter and you realize, all right, she's onto something. God bless her. That's awesome. But how do you take it? Like, if I had an idea like that, I'd have no idea how to implement it. So tell us a little bit about the process of, all right, and tell us what SinkBlink is. Tell us the process of you getting to that, because I've had it in my house. I loved it. I love the water pressure. I think I told both of you that. We were missing water pressure before that. But it definitely has this cool thing to it, and you know what you're supposed to be doing. So enough of me speaking. We'll let you.
We'll kind of walk through a little bit of what we did, and then we'll show the product off in a second. But engineer, right? This is what we do. So I actually have, friends I can call and people I've worked with, and that's just kind of how it started. First, just asking people, hey, is this a good idea? And you talk about onto something. I have a really good friend of mine. He said, Huber, he's like, most of your ideas are bad. But this one feels different. And I was like, okay, if he's not gonna, that was kind of an insult, right? Like, well, okay, if he's halfway complimenting me, we've got something here.
You're onto something, finally.
Yes, actually, we'll quickly show the product real fast. So what we've done is we've converted a just kind of a standard aerator, and we've added an aerator attachment that's going to blink every time you wash your hands. So really, you turn the water on, and it stays solid. And I'll get some soap here, and so it's just going to blink, this kind of slow blink, kind of while you're washing your hands. So now I'm not singing. I can actually talk and do a show with you, and not really in 15 seconds. I don't know. And so it sits here and blinks, and then the last 5 seconds is when it blinks fast. So, and then when it's over, it'll kind of go solid. And what I like here is you actually don't have to stop washing, right? You just know 20 seconds is up. So if I want to get under my fingernails, one of those things, you can stay here longer, but I know I've washed my hands for 20 seconds. And so it's really that simple, and you just turn it back on again, and the whole process starts again for the next person. So that's
how did you figure out how to simplify it? Because I think a lot of people would immediately go, "Oh, I love the light," but you created a whole process where it starts out solid, then it blinks, and then it goes solid again. And so you've helped people not have to sing the alphabet song, or if you've watched great TV shows, they sing a song while they're doing it, so it's enough time. You've taken all of that out of there. You've allowed people to wash their hands, which, guys, if you are not, I see you. You have to do that. But I think a lot of people just do real quick, or like I mentioned earlier, it's that quick squirt of the hand sanitizer and you're done. But you've made it so kids can do it, businesses can incorporate it. People are looking for a way to feel safe and comfortable with the businesses they're at, and this is an added value to that. So talk about it. You get the product, you figure it out, and then all of a sudden you're like, what do I do with it? So what did you do?
Yeah. So really, the first thing we tried was just telling everybody about it. Okay, while it's paper, let's make sure it's worth doing. And so you get that feedback from everybody, right? I told you a story about my friend that was nice to me. And then now you try to make it. So Arduino board, and it's big, it's chunky, it's Frankenstein together, and it's this big thing. But you just try it out. So I just kind of could put some big monstrosity on this faucet and say, okay, did that work? Hey, Sophia, come here. Did you see this? And is this what you thought? And you talk about it being simple. I kind of basically fought every instinct I had to feature creep. And, it's really, I'm a gadget guy. I love adding cool things, and let it blink super crazy in the middle. And it's like, let's resist every temptation to complicate it. And so through that kind of just rapid prototyping process of just using what I get my hands on quickly, just kind of settled on that blinking pattern, what made sense to me and what made sense to her. And through that, we just kind of just said, okay, this kind of feels right. It just kind of, you see that pattern. I don't have to explain to you, a little. Once you kind of know, it blinks while it's time. Once you get that one step, it does something. And there's kind of 2 points. One is I've learned hand sanitizing is not as good as hand washing. So you get like 80% versus that 20, 30 second, hand washing. And also I've learned that the average person is washing their hands for about 6 seconds. I learned that fact, which means half the people are washing for less.
Jerry, guys. All right, Jerry, I have to ask you, why are you involved? What is it about the product and its potential uses that made you curious and interested?
Yeah, Ted. So when John called me, again, I have a sales background. So my mind typically would gravitate, okay, what are we going to do to sell? What are we going to do to make money? But it was different for me this time. When John called and introduced me to his concept of the product he invented, my mind immediately gravitated to literally saving lives, because I am a high-risk patient. I think I mentioned that earlier. And I thought, how can we introduce this into the healthcare setting, into the medical facilities, into the schools, where we can start really training people through a behavior modification of the application. There are some things that are out there in the marketplace, but they're very expensive. They're certainly not fun. Kids aren't going to use them. In many instances, they're not even tall enough to use them. And so for me, it was, how are we going to introduce this to start having an impact for the younger generation to protect themselves? And I started doing some research and really drew me in. One of the things that I found out very quickly is that through effective hand washing, particularly for children, we can prevent 1 in 3 of kids are going to get some type of dye-related illness.
Wow.
Or 1 in 5 children are going to get a respiratory infection. And so for me, it made that decision to become involved with this product very easy. And so now we're going through the process of awareness, education, implementation, and the reviews that we've received have been phenomenal. To your point earlier, I think John referenced this, but everybody tells you to sing the happy birthday song twice. Right. So I have a cancer patient who was introduced to SinkBlink, and literally she called me and she said, Jerry, I have been taught to sing happy birthday twice. What I realized when I installed the SinkBlink, I was about 6 seconds short.
Which is a big deal.
Which is a big deal. Right, it's a big deal. And so it made it very easy for me to join at the hip with John, and let's start moving forward.
I mean, here's the thing. I'm a kid at heart, so the blinking part and the light part are fascinating to me. I know that makes me a simple-minded adult, but I just want you to know that I think like a kid, and it's very important. And if kids are thinking it and I'm an adult and I'm thinking it, then everybody will think it. I think it's important. It just helps. It helps the process along. But you all want to do a lot with this. This isn't just for your home sink. This is industrial business. Talk a little bit about the plan, John or Jerry, to implement that.
Really, step one was exposure. And that was really what we started with the pilot run, was just letting people kind of what you said, when you try it for yourself, do you kind of become aware of your own behaviors? And does the blinky light somehow it bullies you into standing around that sink? It's been very interesting in our house and the feedback we've been getting about hearing how it just keeps you around. So we started that pilot run, and then I think really it's good time to pass to Gary. He kind of started exploring, I think, a lot of other opportunities. I don't know, Jerry, if you want to talk about kind of the next steps.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, so we started doing really our just research and finding out what the best verticals or business opportunities we would have for implementation, really quick early adopters for that. But what we've seen is that particularly in the school setting at the elementary level and middle school level, they were deemed essential. And so we have been literally inundated from facility managers, from school systems now really across the country, and getting requests in to implement the SinkBlink for their schools. And not just the children. We think a lot about the children here, but we need to talk about the parents and the staff as well. Because effective hand washing modeling from the adults is critical to the behavior modification of their children. And I'll be candid and transparent with you. I have 2 grandsons. And since I was introduced to SinkBlink, I have one of them here with me this week who's actually back there with the storm with the pups and keeping them quiet. But when he saw the SinkBlink, their response is, "Paul, that's cool." They like that. So they gravitate. So in our home where he wants to wash his hands now is with the Blinky sink. And it's helping him. And then just yesterday, he asked me, he said, "Paul, can I take some SinkBlinks to school with me?" So he goes back to school in Tallahassee, and he's 8 years old. So he asked me that unprovoked. And to me, that is something that you can't put a dollar value on it when an 8-year-old asks you, "Paul, can I take this to school with me?" And so, go ahead.
Can. And most kids, let's be honest, are not the best hand washers. So you have to make it attractive or enticing or engaging for them. And so to have something that blinks and you have to pay attention to the blinking and that comes into, I love the concept of that because that's what will help engage kids. But adults too, I have to tell you that when it was on, when I would use it in the kitchen, it was, when I use it, I'm not really a kitchen person. When I use it in the kitchen, it was awesome. And I just stood there. I stood there and washed my hands until it stopped when it told me it was over. I need that direction in my life. I don't know about anybody else, but somebody's got to tell me what to do 24/7. And so I think that people will respond to this. And it's such an easy, simple way for people to be cognizant of the time they're spending not spreading disease. I mean, this is basically what it boils down to. Is you're keeping the numbers low, you are minimizing the impact, and you are making a huge impact on whether or not people get what you have because you're washing your hands the way you're supposed to.
Yeah, Ted,
go ahead, please. No, you're good.
Yeah, Ted, I would just say, one of the things too that sometimes, peer pressure goes a long way when somebody is watching you. And so we are testing in hospitals. And so the constant feedback that I receive is people reminding me because what they have done is just wash your hands and they get away from the sink. Maybe not long enough always, but this removes that as an option. So people watch them and they have an opportunity to watch the timer visually versus just trying to count in their head because they're not typically doing that. They're busy, they're running, they're moving. And so there is a peer pressure application as well, really for compliance, quite frankly.
I love the peer pressure part because I actually will verbalize to someone if they leave the restroom and they didn't stop by the sink to wash their hands. So I'm one of those people. Hopefully I don't get in trouble for that. But I think it's important because look, if I'm standing next to you and you don't pay attention to the SinkBlink and I see you have cut it off early, yeah, I might snicker at you or make some sort of terrible sound about how horrible I think you're being. And it's not personal, but guys, we have to take this seriously. This, and not you all, but the audience, the hand washing is so critical. It is critical. Your mask is critical, but for the love of God, for all other diseases and things that come into our lives, washing your hands is so important. And yet there are many people who either don't do it enough, don't know how to do it right. And I'm not judging you. I get it. And when I experienced SinkBlink the first time, I'm like, I'm doing this all wrong. I was doing it wrong. I thought I had spent enough time. I wasn't spending enough time. So I think it's a good thing, and I think in this particular environment, it's such a powerful product to bring out. So anything that you want to share with them about how we can reach you? What if we have schools or businesses or restaurants or homes that want to learn more and they want to purchase the product? What's the best way for them to reach out to you guys?
So 2 things. I mean, SinkBlink20.com. We're on social media everywhere as SinkBlink20, just like it says kind of down here on the screen. One important thing for schools that we're doing actually is we think getting these things, getting SinkBlink20 into schools is so important. We want to do a 100 school giveaway. So if you can come to our website, you'll see a pop-up that will take you to a page. If you're a part of a school and you want to try SinkBlink, fill out the form and we'll be happy to send you 2 and just kind of let you experience it for yourself and just make sure we're getting as many hands washed as possible.
Right.
I love that. Oh, yeah. School. See, that's a good thing. All right. So SinkBlink20 is the best. SinkBlink20.com is the best way to reach you guys.
It is.
Listen, I had it in my house, everyone. I love the water pressure part of it. I've already said that. I needed the blink part. I mean, somebody needs to tell me 24/7 what I need to do. And it was so good. I was like, okay, I did it. I don't know. There's a sense of accomplishment. So imagine if you're an adult child like I am, how kids are going to respond to that. But I love it. I think it's so easy. And that's the other part that I think is golden about what it is. You install it and it's pretty much, even a TED can follow the instructions on how long you wash your hands. You guys are a joy. Thank you, John. Thank you, Jerry. SinkBlink20.com. You all need to get this in your homes, get it in your businesses. And if you're a teacher or an administrator, I really encourage you to reach out to John and Jerry because it is something that we all need to have. Because, guys, I hate to tell you this, but we are not out of the woods. And so we have a long haul. And I think it's super important that we engage with products like SinkBlink20 to make our lives a little easier and better. Thank you guys for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Ted.
Thank you.
You're awesome. And you did it. I didn't know you were going to do a whole demo. I love that.
SinkBlink Central. Set up here.
All right, guys. Thank you so much, Jerry.
Thank you, Ted. Have a great afternoon. Thank you.
You guys are amazing. Reach out to them, guys. You know you want it in your business or your restaurant. What about that? So we'll see you soon.